Okay, we're on my time now. It's after 9. I'm taking an early break today. I'll work on my crap. So, I was picked up some new racing stuff to play with. So while I was up there getting some stuff for him, because pandas aren't available from STD for years, but if you don't mind doing a little extra work, you go into the junk bin and you pull out junk ones. And then you can do what you want with them. So these are ones that have been rejected over the last 20 years for different reasons. So who knows what the hell. Tucker did something wrong here. VJ didn't like it, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, I picked through the pallet full of crap and dug out a few heads. This is the same as the one on that motor there. It's the 58 to 62 style head. This is the OE replacement ones, which are the T manifold with the big fins. Harley heads were 5 fin, these are 4 fin. So this duplicated the side Oler design, but it was, so this Harley never actually made this head, because all of these heads that were this 58 to 62 style were 5 fin, which is right here. See, that's 5 fins. The plug is recessed into a hole. That's just how Harley made their big fin head. Whereas STD made their heads 4 fin head. When Harley went to a side Oler head, they went back to the earlier style 4 fin that was on the small fin head, for whatever reason. Don't know why they did it, but that's what they did. So that's one way you tell the stuff apart a little bit. But anyway, these are made out of really, really high grade military high-end aluminum. Evidently there's only one place that casts it, I guess. Super high buck. So there's a bunch of stuff like this. They don't scrap because they got so much money in each head. And they're like me, they don't throw away anything. So this head had some issues. Obviously a little bit of a core shift. There's a lot of red around the combustion chamber, so something they didn't like. Probably the core shift in here. You can see how it's thicker here and thinner on this side. So this is too thick on this side. The piston might hit, who knows. They never did put the inserts in it. They didn't finish machining this. They left it raw on the inside. But you know, I don't care. I can fix those issues. You know, it's between using this stuff or using nothing. So I use what I get my hands on. I don't do this crap. So this here's a side Oler head. See, it's got the side Oler on it. This is the shovel head version of the pan head. So in case you know what that means, is original pan is that T manifold. See how it goes T. This is the shovel head. See how it's got a Y. So this also has a 3 fin exhaust on this particular head. This one has the stock round port style flange. So they make them both ways. This is a dual plug head, whether it's dual plugged or not. The provision's there to do it. And they're all side Oler. And this has dual bolt patterns, so it fits shovel head or pan head cylinders. So that's kind of a different style head. It kind of fits everything. Got internal oiling, external oiling. Got all kinds of variants to it. So I picked up some heads, and I picked up some high-end gear sets they have up there that are super high quality, aren't supposed to break. They run, you know, 300 horsepower through them, and they tend to hold up. So we'll try them out on my bike. So they got a few sets of those left, so I grabbed 2 of them for my projects. But there might be 4 or 5 sets left. If anybody wants some, let me know. They're going quick. Anyway, I was up there, like, he had this motor up there in his office area. So this is a generator shovel head motor that has had a lot of repair work done, or a lot of welding done to it for modified for racing. So this is one of the motors that was used in like the Easy Buy to Streamliners type deals for Bonneville motors, Bonneville Streamliners. So Keith Ruxton made these motors, and Bob George made motors. I don't know which one this is, but somebody knew what the hell they were doing, did a lot of work on this motor. So this is a 3 7/8 bore. instead of the stock 3 7/16. And obviously they added a lot of material to the case, raised the bolts up. They they put a lot of material over here. The lifter block has been cut away. And see, it's all been filled with metal, so it's thick through here. And obviously they didn't run any oil to the lifters, to the top end. Top end was dry feed probably. And they didn't run any oil to the top end, so they probably had grease zerks up on the rocker shaft and gave it a couple zerks before they left. Call it done. So that's how a lot of drag motors are done that way. I guess they were doing it at Bonneville. These were nitro burning motors. They were putting the full can in them probably. They were 90 cubic inches per motor, twin engine. So this 3 7/8 bore, and not 13/16. This is 13/16. It's not as big as this. They ran a Sportster stroke crank in it, which is a 3 13/16 stroke, and that gives you 89.9 cubic inches on a 90-inch limit. So there you go. They pushed it to the limit. So anyway, these are custom cylinders. These are water cooled. They had big water clamshell cast aluminum piece to go on here, bolt on. They seal along this edge right here and right here. And it seals it up, and then you run water through it to cool it, so you can go for a 7-8 mile run down the track. You know, you run 250 to 300 plus mile an hour. So that's what they did. So like I said, I'm not sure whose motor this is, but one of them. Bob George made all the streamliners in the old days, and then for Harleys, and that's where the Easy Rider streamline came from. They bought one of his. So he had 3 of them I know of for sure. But anyway, I met Bob George back in the 90s. So talked to him about a few things back in racing days when I was racing. So anyway, this is one of those motors. All the numbers are missing off the bottom, so I don't know what year the case is until I get on the inside. But anyway, I'm going to make a race motor out of this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build up 3 different motors. I'm going to do a 100-inch motor, 120-inch motor, and a 180 cubic inch motor. Those are the class limits. This motor over here was one I was working on a few years ago. This was going to be a 100 and 120-inch panhead motor of mine. This was Top Fuel Evo cylinders back in the 90s. S&S made these things. They claim they never did, but yeah, sure, they never made them, but there they are. They also never made heads for them either, right? So here's one of their heads right here on top of the motor. See, S&S never made them either. You ever heard of a B2 and a B3 head? This is a B1 head. This is what they started with. So imagine how it fits their cylinder, you know? Weird how that happens. So it doesn't matter what they want to admit to making, they made it. So anyway, this is I was going to do a panhead motor, so this is a panhead case here. This is actually a 45 flathead trike case here. It's got a twin cam crank in the middle of it, so it's 4-inch stroke, 4030 bore, makes it just over 100 inches. I'd have to sleeve it back to under 4 inches to be legal. I want a 4-cam motor, so to get 4 cams, you got to either Sportster or 45. Well, Sportsters don't work, 45s do. So there you go. There's a 45 trike case here with a panhead case. Like I said, twin cam crank, Top Fuel Evo top in on it. I'll make a panhead fit on this thing and it'll be good to go. But I'm going to do something different now because I want to be able to put it in the, I'm going to do 3 motors and put it in the same chassis. This motor here I could probably make it work, but after it, I'm going to do something different. So I got my motor back there in my Softail panhead project, street bike project. That's in my playlist, what do I call it, a 57, 80 Softail, 97 motor. It's 3 different years on what I got in the parts. Anyway, I'm going to make that my 120 motor, and then I'll make it like 4 1/4 bore probably, and stroke. It's a good strong running combo instead of doing a 4-inch bore like that motor is with a 4 3/4 stroke. It'd be better to go 4 1/4 on both, so I'll do it that way. The small motor, I just picked up this set of cylinders off of eBay. These were listed just as shovel head cylinders. They didn't know what the hell they got. eBay, they're stupid anyway. So anyway, it was one of those bike dismantler guys. I hate them guys, but you get parts from them. So I saw the pistons. They had a picture of like this in the auction. So you can't tell anything with a picture like that. You can see it's a shovel head cylinder, but you can't tell what it is. I know what this piston is when I see it. I know it's a big ass bore piston. There's not too many 3 5/8 pistons that look like this, but there's a lot of 13/16 bore ones that look like this. So. And when I saw the front of the piston broken out, I pretty well knew what happened. And so I was pretty sure what these were when I was buying them. So I just didn't know what condition they were in. Usually when they're broken like that, there's a reason for it. And I pretty well knew what I was going to be buying. So I went up getting them, got them at a decent price, and because nobody knew what the hell they were. And they had a stock 74-inch crank in the same auction group. So, and it was sort of STD, old style STD cases, so it's someone's old street race motor. So I wasn't sure why they had a short, 74-inch crank with big ass bore, all in the same listings, because these are the stroker motors when you see this kind of stuff. But anyway, so what these are is, these are 3 13/16 bore, standard bore. When you bore the cases out for big bore on a Harley, this bolt's down here. You bore it through the bolt, and when you put the cylinders down, the bolt has to be in a certain position, or you cause cylinder damage. This damage you get is called, you screw up the cylinders, and if you see it right here, that's what happens. So this whole area is bubbled up. I don't know if you can really tell that in the video. This whole thing is squashed in right here. It's no longer round. And you can see how this whole cylinder is pushed in this way. So what the dumbass did was, they did one of two things. They either had the solid stud in here and they beat the damn cylinder down with a big ass hammer until it went in, or they had the cylinder down and they turned the bolt that was cut out. Pick a word for that. Scalloped out, and when you turn it, it goes back full round. Well, when it goes full round, it has a hell of a lot of pressure in there, because that's a wedging deal. You put thousands of pounds of pressure real quick, and you turn it like that, and it bends the cylinder in. And that's what it looks like it did to me, because the way this is done, it doesn't look like it was beat down. It looks like it was rotated. So some dumbass did that. The other thing that does it is, when they pull the motor, they put the stud in after the cylinders are down. You beat the stud in with a hammer, and that'll do the same thing. So one of those two things happens. Then they started the bike and ran it, and as soon as this hit the part where it's now bent in, 30 or 50 thousandths down here, the piston doesn't like being bent in 30 or 50 thousandths, especially these real thin ones like this, and it just breaks the whole piston away. And then the motor started knocking real bad, and I'm sure they sold the bike after that, because it definitely quit running. And this one here has the same issue. It's all screwed up. So you can see it right there. So these are cast steel, cast iron, one of the two. Cast steel you can bend back, cast iron you can't. I don't know which ones these are. So I'm assuming they're cast iron and not steel. So this area needs to be, if it's cast iron, you bend it back, it'll break off. If it's steel, you can bend it back without it breaking. I don't really feel like finding out which one it is. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go start honing on the damn thing until it's squared up. But I want to see how much am I going to be cutting off that much? I can't do it. I'll have to bend it back. But it's bent way, way over. So I think it's probably almost that much is what it's bent in. So I might have to take a torch and heat this up and tap on a little bit, and hopefully it doesn't break off. But you never know. But anyway, these are shorter than stock cylinders by quite a bit, because they're using that 74-inch stroke, and these cylinders are made for an 80-inch stroke application. So that means they're a little bit over an 1/8 inch too long. So these have been shortened up over an 1/8 of an inch. So these are really short cylinders. So what I can do is I can make a 100-inch motor out of these real quickly. These are 97-inch bore. Just putting these on a stock 80-inch motor, you get 97 cubic inches. So if I build the motor up with as that, I could put an 80-inch crank into a stock panhead case, bore the case way the hell out up here. This is shovel head, so it has external oiling, so it doesn't have the panhead oil line that goes right through here, which obviously this case doesn't have, but I would be using a stock case. So I would have to weld that hole up, because when you go this big on a stock case, it is going to go through the oil hole. A trick I can do is I can put a spacer in here and split the case back a little bit further, spread them out,